like
jam.
Water.
Hit the brake.
Beep, beep.
Drip like
Jam.
Water.
Hit the brake.
Beep, beep. Get out of my way!
Yo, what want me you?
You're watching The Traffic Jam.
Welcome to Traffic Jam's podcast. It's your humble correspondent, Dr. Dre, and I'm being joined by, I would say, one of the world's most beautiful women on the planet. And she's not only a star beyond stars, not only an author, not only a photographer, she's a good friend of mine, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen. Let's welcome to the podcast, Traffic Jams, Miss Heather Hunter. How are you, my dear?
Hey, how you doing, sweetie? So glad to be here.
Hey, I'm so happy. I'm so happy when Mark asked me if I would do this interview with him. I said, she doesn't want to talk to me.
I was excited. I was like, oh, Dr. Dre? I said, that's family. I got to do this.
Matter of fact, I told the story about how you escorted me and my mother to the premiere of Who's the Man, believe it or not.
Yes. That was a great movie. That's actually a cult classic, actually, in the hip-hop culture.
Yes, it is. But we're here talking about you and you being an icon in many different genres and in many different fields. So let's start with one that many people are familiar with you. You were and still are a very famous adult film star. Am I correct?
Yes. It's crazy how I took over that business.
Because you're gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. I started at 18 years old, and I've been retired now from the adult industry for about 29 years now. About 30, 29. Yes.
So have you seen great changes in the industry since you retired?
I haven't seen many changes. If anything, I think, this is the way the world is today. We got a new era. So I think there's more sexual liberation when it comes to the X-rated industry. It's not so taboo as it used to be.
So do you think that makes it too accessible, or do you think that makes it the new thing to be a part of? Because so many folks try to jump through what you've done and actually pioneered through. So which would you say, more accessible, or would you say it's just now the new vogue thing?
Well, it's, to me personally, I think it's just, I loved it when it was underground. It's really hard to call an adult star, especially the porn stars, now there's really just adult performers. Back then when I was in the business, they were really building up an adult star and branding them and making them into what you would call a legend today. So,
because you're a brand. You technically are a brand.
Yes.
Believe it or not, even though you may have retired, you are a brand.
Yeah. That was a really masterful strategy with my manager and me, as well with Vivid, the company I used to be with, because I used to be a Vivid girl. So back then, we really worked on a business branding when it came to creating the persona of Heather Hunter, the Vivid girl. Yeah.
So I want to give you great praise for doing that, but I want to shift gears and talk about you as being now an artist, a painter, a person whose imagination goes beyond the screen as the star. How did you get involved with painting?
Wow. Well, I've been my whole life, I think a lot of people, when I got into the adult industry, I didn't think they expected me to know how to create other things, being an adult star, it's really hard to be taken serious. So you kind of get pigeonholed, and really people didn't know I was a graffiti artist. I've been painting and drawing all my life. It was definitely a personal hobby. And then I decided to take it and make it into a business. And that started actually when I got out of the adult industry. So I went from doing artwork. On top of that, I went into doing music. It just kept going from music to art to books,
Well, I was going down that path because I'm going to stick with the art. So are some of your inspiration and some of your paintings inspired from where you were born and raised in the Bronx, New York?
Yes, actually, it's from my being a graffiti artist. You know, I used to tag the trains. I used to go in the subways, tag the trains, the A's, the C's, the ones, the twos, the threes in New York City.
How you gonna go out tagging and you're not 6 feet tall? How do you go out tagging on those big subway cars? Who helped you tag those cars?
I was in different graffiti crews. You know, I was with the Kraftwerk Kids at the time, which was Voodoo Ray and a few other ING 84. Back when I was tagging, you know, you had Blondie, you had a bunch of people, B.O. And I would go with my guy who I was tagging with, which was ING 84. And we used to jump onto the turnstile and go into the tracks and make sure I didn't hit that third rail and went into the car. Oh. And we used to tag. I was very courageous.
You were very athletic. Let's put it that way.
And, you know, the craziest thing, I actually got busted a couple of times. And I was put into juvenile delinquent, you could say art school, you know, and it was Keith Haring's art school. And back then, I didn't really know how big Keith Haring was. You know, back then you're just a teenager, you're just expressing yourself. But he really taught me how to take my art and expressing my art onto a black book as well as onto canvas. So I have to give Keith Haring much respect to him. May he rest in peace, because he made me embrace.
He did some fantastic work. I used to have this giant. It must have been 20 feet tall. Seriously, this I guess it would be a multi-print that we got because I went to one of his functions and he was giving them out to different people, and he gave it to me, and I said, "How do I get this home?" He said, "Oh, come on, Dr. Dre, you need to put this on one of your walls." I said, "No, it's a wall by itself, Keith."
Yeah, Keith was amazing. You know, when I was younger, I was like, who's this guy trying to teach me how to do art? But now, you know, you look at him and see how amazing and legendary he was. And I had so much respect for him. I mean, he really changed my life going into when it came to my artistry as an artist. Yeah.
You also started to dabble and be productive in music. What was your inspiration to become a rapper?
You know, back to being part of hip hop history. I used to work at Latin Quarters. A lot of my friends, as long as
LQ?
Yeah, you know, I used to work at Latin Quarters. At that time, I was a runaway, and I actually lived in Latin Quarters because I really didn't have a place to stay. And Mike Goldberg and this guy named Eddie Bell gave me a job. I was working as a coat check girl, as well as a door girl. And I think, you know, just being part of that history, everybody who's successful now, if you think of all the hip hop legends, they pretty much was birthed from LQ. And it was just a part of my life, and music, dancing, everything.
Tell us some of the artists you seen come through the LQ that were an influence on you and that were influenced by you.
Well, when it came to dancing, it was the IOU dancers. I actually used to dance with them for a while. Rocksteady Crew, you know, when you look at Crazy Legs, he was inspiring to be on the dance floor and just learning how to pop rock with him, and, you know, and music-wise, it's crazy. Everybody was there. You know, if you think about Salt and Pepper, Big Daddy Kane, Biz Markie, Public Enemy. I mean, when I first saw Public Enemy perform on stage, I was like, memorized it. I lost my mind. That was exciting. The Public Enemy movement was just really, it impacted everything inside me. And also, you know, I was there when we had the service for Scott LaRock, and that was, you know,
yes, that was pretty sad.
That was very sad, you know, but I was so happy to be there, just to witness, you know, a lot of hip hop history that came from that place. That was pretty much like my haven, and I could say that for all the other people that came from out of there. You know, you had Grandmaster Flash, Furious 5, Curtis Blow, They read
Now you're talking the legends, the icons, and the people. The people not only built it, but the people lived it. The people that created an avenue for us to be so blessed as to continue down the path.
and Cool Herc, everybody, to be there and to witness that and be a part of that. I mean, of course,
What was the energy in the Latin Quarter at that time? That can you compare that to today? And I'm not talking about COVID time right now because that's not fair. I'm not trying to say one was better than the other. Let's be really clear about that. I just want you to describe from your position to being the code check girl to being the girl at the front door. What was the energy of the LQ like? Because I mean, you described the groups, but what was the energy from the patrons of the Latin Quarter like?
well, it's so funny because everybody, I mean, the energy was in there was incredible. The music, dancing. I mean, of course, LQ was kind of violent.
I was about to say that, but I don't like celebrating the violence, but it did inspire many amazing performances, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, I'm actually, there was a great incident with what's his name? Oh my God, I'm kind of remembering. Well, put it like this: it was a night when all Run DMC was there, and at the end of the night, something popped off because there was always a fight happening, and you could see like jewelry thrown into the air. So when the night, like gold chains just thrown everywhere. So by the end of the night, when it was time to clear out the club, and it was time to clean up, you would see gold chains on the floor. You would actually also see girls' extension and their braids being pulled out from fights. So it was kind of crazy in there, but then it was amazing times. I can't even think of another hip hop club besides the Fever that was hot as well.
So fighting in the club wasn't unique to hip hop and rap music. It's kind of always had that underlying tone in clubs like the LQ. But the LQ was famous also for some great famous performances. But let's go back to what I was asking about: is what brought you into deciding to become a rapper and actually spit bars?
Well, when I first started music, I actually signed with Island Records, and I was doing house music. I did a song called "I Want It All Night Long." And that actually hit the Billboard charts. So after I toured with that song and that EP, I got signed to Tommy Boy Records. And Tommy Boy Records really didn't know what to do with me. They wasn't sure, should I go R&B when they should have had me doing hip hop. So I actually got shelved when I was at Tommy Boy Records, and I got released. And then I decided to put out my own album. And I actually opened my own record label called Blow Records. And Akinelli, thank God, I love Akinelli, because he really came in and he taught me how to rhyme. And I was going on tour with Ak, and we were on tour with Luke, Mystical, pretty much all the freak, wow rappers. We all kind of toured together. And
Two Live Crew, Uncle Luke. Yeah, I know all the 808 Miami bass sound and blowing it up thing, because people call me the godfather of the Miami bass because of my group, Original Concept, but that's a whole nother story. Because we first met multiple different times in multiple different places, and I always was very enamored with you because you were always so kind to me, and I was like, does she really know who I am? And this is before your MTV raps. We were like always cool.
Right. And it's so funny because even back in the day when I used to hang out in Albee Square Mall in Brooklyn, me and Biz Markie, we used to sit and have lunch together as teenagers, especially when I was cutting school. But I actually wound up putting out an album. It's called Double H, The Unexpected. I actually had some hot producers on it. I had DJ Premier, Scott Storch, and I actually had a music video I released called, with my single called So Serious, So Sincere. Wyclef Jean, he was actually featured in the video. So that was a great experience. I toured with that album for about 2 years. And then I decided it was time to go on to another talent that I wanted to express, which was writing a book. And
I was about to ask you. Yeah. Now, I just heard about this book. Is there an audio version to this book so I can actually get a chance to hear you speaking the words that's in the pages?
Oh, actually, it isn't. It's only on hard copy and it's on paperback.
Oh,
And
we got to get you. We got to get you in the studio and get you to do an audio version of it. It's important
yeah, it really is. Actually, it was
because people in my community now, people in the blind community, that's like a lifeline for us because we watch things that people speak, and it's huge, honestly, because people listen to audiobooks like you listen to music in your car.
yeah. We were gonna do an audio book. It just kind of just slipped through my fingers. I wanted to jump into another creativity, but the book was called Insatiable. It was on St. Martin's Press. It's actually, you can get it out. It's on Amazon. You can go to Barnes and Noble. It's pretty much everywhere online.
But thank you so much, and we got more to talk about. We really do.
And I want definitely. I want to say to everybody out there, just be safe, be kind to others, and always be true to yourself. Always. Traffic jam.
Drip like
Jam.
water.
Hit the brake.
Beep, beep.
Drip like
Jam.
water.
Hit the brake.
Beep, beep. Get out of my way!
Yo, what want me youth?